might not know about the Curtis Mansion, 500 Deer Run, Miami Springs. He was an interesting guy. We're pleased to be joined by Melinda Jester, their executive director, and by Isabel Intarian, who's from Incredible Catered Events, who caters a lot of events at the Curtis Mansion. Welcome to you both.
Thank you so much.
Tell us about the Curtis Mansion. Who was Curtis, first of all?
Well, Glenn Curtis, this was his former Florida home. He lived there the last 10 years of his life. And he's a famed aviator and inventor, only in 8th grade education, and had over 500 inventions and 400 patents in his lifetime. What's also interesting, though, for those of us in South Florida, is that he co-founded Hialeah, Miami Springs, and Opa-locka. And I personally grew up nearby. It means a great deal to my family. My parents met there back in the days of when it was called the Villas, long after the Curtis family had passed on. And so everyone that grew up in that community, most of us were airline brats. You know, my mom flew for Pan Am in the 50s, my dad bought and sold planes, and so we'd go there after church, and I just have wonderful memories. So I switched careers to come help take them to the next level. And one of my personal goals is let's make Glenn Curtis a household name again. He was. I mean, he was the cover of Time magazine in the 20s. So I want to see that happen here, at least in South Florida, in the next 5 years.
He also had a lot to do with Miami International Airport, didn't he?
He sure did. I
What
mean,
did
he actually, well, he was known as the father of naval aviation. That's what brought him here in California from New York, originally training naval aviators. He even donated the land for the first municipal airport, and he trained, countless aviators. First woman in flight, first African American in flight. There wasn't a plane in World War I or II that probably didn't have a Curtis engine in it.
So if I go to the Curtis Mansion, what kind of things will I see?
Yeah, what will you see?
Well, you will see his former home restored, and it is beautiful. And there's some interesting South Florida connections too. It's a Pueblo revival from 1925. There are still plants on the property that he planted with David Fairchild, who was married to Alexander Graham Bell's daughter, and they came down together to South Florida. They loved horticulture. You will see a beautiful, fine example of Pueblo Revival architecture, not just at the mansion, but the other homes that are still surviving in Miami Springs. And then he had a Moorish revival theme going on in Opa-locka around the same time, just like the Mediterranean revival that was happening in Coral Gables by Merrick. But somehow Curtis fell off the history books. And so we're trying to do something about that.
These are some things. Is it George Curtis? I'm sorry.
Glenn.
Glenn Curtis. Glenn Curtis is some of the things that Glenn Curtis, who was really a pioneer in the world of aviation, and helped build South Florida, Miami International Airport, Opa-locka, you name it, he did it. Miami Springs. These are some of the meals he might have catered at his home. And you see, you've done some great things here.
Thank you.
And of course, you're a hunter as well. He was a hunter. This is pigeon?
Quail.
Quail. All right. Lots of quail, I guess, in South Florida at that time?
There probably was a fair amount. Honestly, today there's more game in this country than there was at the turn of the century.
Is that right?
Or the previous century.
Right.
But yeah, due to a lot of the management techniques that they use today, there's a lot more deer today than there was 150
That's
years ago.
good to know. Brenda, go ahead and dive in and see what you think. Tomatoes, have they always been a large part of South Florida's history?
As far as I can remember,
Right.
since I was a kid, I remember going picking in Homestead.
In Homestead.
For tomatoes and strawberries.
Right. In fact, we're part of a group called Nana's Green. And Nana's Green, they're farmers.
They're
and
CSA.
It's a CSA.
Right,
Yeah.
and they provide these wonderful vegetables to people around South Florida. Just joined the CSA. This is their last week, by the way. And if you join now for next year, you get some kind of a special deal.
And they deliver it to your local Whole Foods, whatever's closest to you. So you can get a small share, whatever share fits your family, and it's whatever's been in the ground the week before. And it really helps the farmers as well.
That's marvelous.
Thank you.
I don't know that I've had quail. Well, I guess I should have had quail, but that's delicious quail. What have you stuffed it with?
Goat cheese.
Oh my goodness, that's so
Beautiful.
good.
Absolutely delicious. Cheers.
Really
Let's
wonderful.
cheers to Glenn Curtis.
Yes.
Yes.
His 100th,
To Glenn.
140th birthday Monday.
Oh
that right?
my goodness.
To Glenn.
Brenda, he's
Glenn.
catching up to you. It's MiamiMuseum.com. That wasn't nice. I've had a little bit of wine. It's okay. You take 2 shows back to back. It's all right. Go to the Curtis Mansion and check out incredibly catered events. Wonderful folks.
Thank you so
Great
much
things for
for
South
coming on
Florida.
the show.
Thank you for
Back
having
with
us.
more right
Appreciate
after
sharing
this.
this.
We'll be back.
Bye.